The peak of any great market advance is rarely a spectacle. It is never the chaotic event the amateur expects. They imagine screaming headlines. They wait for sudden, violent drops. They look for the immediate, terrifying signal to sell everything. That is the fantasy. That is the amateur's dream of escape. The reality, the bitter truth of Wall Street is far more cunning. If you wait for the news to scream, "Sell now," you are already too late. You are the buyer the professional operator was waiting for. Smart money does not panic. They do not drop their holdings onto the open market and crush the price. That would be financial suicide. The professional does not use a wrecking ball. He uses a scalpel. He uses deception. He uses manufactured stability. He uses optimism as a cloak. The operator systematically offloads his entire inventory, hundreds of thousands of shares, sometimes millions, into the welcoming, optimistic hands of the unsuspecting public. This calculated, chilling blueprint of liquidation is what I call the quiet selling pattern. It is the signature of true distribution. It is the mechanism by which the few profit massively from the many. We break down this blueprint now. Learn it. Study it. Trust the tape over your banker, over the newspapers, over your own hope. Subscribe now, like this video, and leave a comment. By doing that, you help more people see this message, and you let me know this work is not in vain. The professional operator carries an immense inventory. He has been accumulating steadily, often for months or even years, while the stock was cheap and disregarded. Now the public is finally enthusiastic. The quotations are high. The money is flowing freely. The operator's single greatest concern is liquidity. He must be able to sell everything he owns at these elevated prices. He must avoid flooding the market. If he attempts to dump his position too quickly, if he throws 50,000 shares onto the floor in a single hour, the immediate effect is catastrophic. The quotation will break instantly. His entire distribution campaign is ruined. His profits evaporate in the vacuum of demand he has created. This is the principle of controlled supply. Selling must be done slowly. It must be measured. It must be moderate. The operator sells only enough to satisfy the current demand, but never enough to extinguish it entirely. He is constantly checking the tape. He watches the buying enthusiasm. Is the public absorbing the shares I am feeding them? Are they still asking for more? Distribution is a surgical strike. It is not a street brawl. He feeds the shares in small lots. He sells through multiple channels. He uses discretion and patience as his greatest weapons. He knows that to successfully liquidate 1 million shares, he might need 6 weeks of steady, controlled selling. Every day, every hour, must be executed with surgical precision, ensuring the buying appetite remains robust enough to absorb his steady flow without noticeable weakness in the price. The price must appear to hold. It must appear strong. This brings us to the crucial element of cover. The quiet selling pattern is never executed naked. It must be cloaked. It must be disguised by manufactured positive sentiment. The public needs a reason to pay the highest price. They need a justification for their avarice. Just as the operator begins his controlled liquidation, stories appear. Whispers start making the rounds on the street. Rumors of a merger. Speculation of an increased dividend payment. Unofficial leaks regarding record earnings for the quarter, far exceeding previous estimates. This news is often subtly leaked by channels friendly to the operator. It is timed, it is designed. This is the engineered optimism that provides the necessary cover. It creates the absorption layer. The news acts as the magnet for the amateur. It makes the elevated valuation seem reasonable, even conservative. The public says, this is why the stock is strong. It is justified. It has not gone high enough yet. The operator feeds his stock into this layer of manufactured justification. The amateur buys the rumor, or they buy the headline, believing they are acting on inside information or sound logic. They are simply taking the bait. The operator is not just selling his stock. He is selling a narrative. He is selling hope. He creates stability at the peak. This is perhaps the most cunning trick. The price is allowed to advance to a certain level, the absolute peak of the movement. Once that peak is established, the operator rigorously defends the quotation just below it. He is creating a psychological holding line. Say the stock hits 100. It retreats to 98. The operator places enough supporting bids at 98 or slightly below to ensure the quotation stabilizes there. It might trade 97.5 for days. This stability reassures the public. They see the stock refusing to drop significantly, even after a massive run-up. They conclude that the underlying strength is immense. They believe the big money is stepping in to defend the quotation. They are right that big money is there. But they are wrong about its intent. The big money is not defending the price to start a new rally. It is defending the price to ensure it has enough time to sell every last share at the highest possible average. This stability creates a stop-loss magnet. It draws in buyers who believe the 97 or 98 level is the new floor. Every dip becomes a buying opportunity. The operator continuously feeds supply into this critical price floor, knowing the amateur is waiting there with open hands, ready to catch the falling knife before it can damage his confidence. The public buys the stability. The professional sells the certainty. The critical clue for the professional is always on the tape. You must stop asking what is trading and start demanding to know how fast it is trading. How quickly is the market absorbing this supply? During the early stages of a strong move, volume is high, but the price moves easily. A small block bought is enough to lift the quotation a point or two. There is momentum. During distribution, everything changes. Volumes remain extremely high. Massive amounts of shares are changing hands every hour. But the price action becomes sluggish. It appears waterlogged. There are heavy transactions. The turnover is staggering. But the stock makes little forward progress. It trades 50,000 shares and barely manages to tick up a quarter point. The effort required to push the price up is disproportionate to the result achieved. The operators still in the accumulation phase, those trying to run the stock higher, are fighting a continuous hidden stream of supply that is overwhelming them. They buy 5,000 shares. The stock moves up. But almost instantly, another 5,000 shares appear from an unknown source, knocking the price back down. This constant churning, this heavy turnover without upward movement, is the unmistakable sign that the operator is selling into strength. The absorption rate is merely matching the liquidation rate. It signals the supply is winning. The amateur often confuses turnover with excitement. The operator confuses it with opportunity. Before the true decline begins, the operator must clean house. He must shake out any final latent buying power. He initiates the false breakout. This is a rapid, usually sharp move upward, a last gasp rally. This sudden movement is designed to trigger all the automated buying algorithms. It pulls in all the cautious buyers who were waiting for the absolute confirmation that the stock was breaking to a new high. It smashes through the previous peak, perhaps by a point or two, triggering stop losses placed by any early bears. The volume on this false breakout is massive. The headline often screams that the stock has achieved a new record, but this move fails to hold. It is a flash in the pan, a magnificent firework display designed purely for distraction. The quotation quickly reverts back to the distribution zone, sinking back below the previous high point. This moment, the brief, exhilarating peak of the false breakout, is the last, best opportunity for the operator to unload his final, large blocks of stock at the premium price. He has used the excitement of the breakout to empty his bags. He has sold to the most eager, most gullible buyers on the street. Once the operator commits to distribution, he cannot risk exposure. He cannot allow the magnitude of his selling to become obvious. If a single brokerage house saw him dump 300,000 shares over 2 weeks, that broker's specialist would immediately recognize the true intent and withdraw his own support. The operator would be exposed. The operator uses discretion and complexity. He works through multiple channels. He uses specialists who don't know the full scope of his activities. He rotates his orders across 5, sometimes 10 different brokerage houses. He sells 5,000 shares through House A on Monday morning. He sells 10,000 shares through House B on Monday afternoon. He sends another 5,000 shares through an obscure regional bank on Tuesday. This decentralization prevents any single observer, any single broker or floor man from noticing the true scale of the selling. The selling volume appears fragmented and quiet. It looks like many small sellers taking profits, not one colossal professional liquidating his entire position. The specialist sees a few blocks crossing the tape from different directions, but he never puts the pieces together until it is too late. The operator understands that visibility is death during distribution. Concealment is life. Watch the momentum. Watch the follow-through. In a healthy, accumulating market, small volumes can push the price easily. Momentum builds on itself. When the stock moves up, it stays up. The buying pressure carries it forward. During distribution, you see consistent rejection of higher prices. A large block is purchased. The quotation spikes dramatically. The amateur cheers. But immediately supply floods the floor. The price retreats. It cannot hold the gains it just made. The stock closes poorly, often settling back near the middle or low of the day's range, despite heavy transactions. The buying appears powerful, but the selling is overwhelming it. The supply is latent, waiting overhead. It is a lid pressing down. This consistent inability to hold gains, this immediate retreat after every bullish spike, is the telltale sign that distribution is in full swing. The supply is heavy. The professional is using the energy of the buyers as a shield for his own exit. He is not interested in seeing the stock trade higher. He is only interested in selling what he has, where it is. Once the operator has unloaded the vast majority of his position, say 80 or 90% of his inventory, he has achieved his objective. He has maximized his profit at the top. His need for control vanishes. His willingness to defend the quotation disappears entirely. This moment is the liquidation pivot. The operator stops supporting the price. He withdraws all his subtle buying support, the occasional small bid he placed to reinforce the holding line. This sudden withdrawal creates a massive vacuum. The bids thin out instantly. There are no buyers left with the resources or the motivation to absorb the continuing natural flow of sellers. The quotation begins to drift lower. Initially, this drop may occur on lighter volume. This is the crucial confirmation. The great professional hand is gone. Gravity takes hold. The stability that characterized the distribution phase evaporates overnight. The stock that seemed rock solid at 98 suddenly finds no serious bid above 95. Then 92. The professional is out. The public is now holding the bag. The quiet selling pattern works primarily because of human nature, because of the psychology of denial. The amateur investor is psychologically conditioned to buy dips after a massive run. They believe the pattern of the last 6 months will hold indefinitely. They expect the market to correct their mistakes. When they see the price stabilize near the peak, they do not recognize it as a ceiling of supply engineered by a professional operator. They see it as a temporary pause, a consolidation before the next leg up. They look at the headlines, still positive and reassuring, and ignore the tape action, which is screaming warning signals. They rationalize the stock's sluggishness. They say it is digesting the gains. They say the market is resting. Hope is the most expensive emotion in the market. It forces the victim to disregard the evidence of their own eyes. It compels them to buy more at 97 because they believe the stock is destined for 120. They deny the reality of distribution until the price has collapsed beyond recovery. They hold all the way down, convinced that their original valuation was correct, even if the market disagrees violently. They bought the stock for the story, and the story tells them to wait for the bounce. They confuse their conviction with the professional's liquidity. The distribution phase is over once the price breaks down decisively. The final confirmation that the smart money has exited comes in the aftermath of that breakdown. Once the stock falls below the holding line, once it drops from 95 to 85, the public begins to panic. They sell their recently acquired positions. Volume often spikes initially, driven by public fear. But immediately afterward, the volume dries up. It diminishes significantly. Why? Because the professional operator is already out. He has no inventory left to sell, and critically, he has no interest in buying the stock back until it is dramatically cheaper. This exhaustion of volume, this lack of significant follow-up buying after a steep decline, confirms that the pool is entirely finished with the security. There is no major professional interest left to support the price. The professionals sold when the public was buying on massive volume. The public now sells to each other on lighter volume because the smart money is sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the quotation to reach rock bottom before considering a return. The quiet selling pattern is the ultimate lesson in market operation. Markets are not designed for fairness. They are designed to deceive the majority. They are designed to transfer wealth from the optimistic amateur to the disciplined professional. True success lies not in chasing momentum. It lies in recognizing the subtle, cold shifts in the balance of supply and demand. The operator cannot hide the churning. He cannot hide the sluggishness on the tape. He can only hide his identity and his intent. Learn to read the tape with skepticism. Trust the volume action, the effort versus the result, over the encouraging headlines. Never, under any circumstance, allow hope to hold the bag for the professionals. The market owes you nothing, but precision, detachment, and disciplined observation of the tape will pay you tremendous dividends. Do the work. Execute the plan. Stay out of the bag. You can watch hundreds of hours of content and read dozens of books about the market. You are filling yourself with knowledge, which is excellent. But knowledge alone won't make everyone rich, because not everyone possesses the right foundation. The market is the same for everyone. The only difference lies in the mindset. You can have a perfect trading system, but if you lack discipline and an understanding of your own psychology, that system is worth nothing. I often see a recurring theme in your comments. It is easy to talk about strategy and theory, but when it comes to the actual trade, many struggle with emotions. For those who want to focus on discipline, patience, and self-discovery within trading, I have created a new channel called The Stoic Trader. I believe it will help many of you bridge these gaps. So if you think this kind of content would be useful to you, go ahead and check it out. The link is, as always, in the description below. The quiet distribution patterns we have analyzed today are rarely learned cheaply. The market exacts a considerable penalty for ignorance, and every lesson acquired firsthand tends to carry a hefty financial cost. Fortunately, the definitive record of these consequential experiences was meticulously captured in Edwin Lefebvre's seminal 1923 work, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Reading this account of Jesse Livermore, the original Larry Livingston, transforms the book into an invaluable training ground where you absorb decades of costly market wisdom vicariously without ever risking your own capital. However, to translate the dense, era-specific language and mechanics of the 1920s into applicable knowledge for the contemporary trader, we strongly recommend the insightful annotated edition prepared by Max Davidson. His commentary bridges that temporal gap, ensuring that Livermore's profound observations on crowd psychology and smart money distribution remain critically relevant today. A link to this essential edition is provided in the description below.